Hi, folks. My name is Rachel Young Sato, and I am the former Career Development Program Manager. And I'm here to talk with first years that are in the MPA program that are trying to figure out how do I connect my current coursework, my time in the classroom to career. What does it mean to connect your skills that you're learning in the classroom to a job application, to your interview? How do you put it on your resume? I want to talk a little bit about how you can do that, especially for folks that maybe you have gone from undergrad straight to grad school. So maybe you haven't had time to be in a professional setting or a full-time position before you came to the Evans School. Or maybe it's been a bit and you're making a career pivot and you are trying to figure out, again, how do I talk about what I'm doing here on my resume? And how do I kind of talk about that in my interviewing as well? So I'm here to chat a bit about that. So, what I want to first share is a lot of folks right now, employers right now, and I'm talking in 2026, they're mostly doing skills-based hiring. And so based on the Job Outlook report in 2026, 70% of employers are using skills-based hiring rather than just relying on their GPA or degree titles. So even though the Evans school name goes far, especially here in the Seattle area, also skills and being able to talk about and um, articulate your skills on your resume is really important, potentially a little bit more important. So, understanding how to talk about that and write it down on your resume. What does that mean for your internship and job approach? So, this is really important to make sure that you're highlighting on your resume and that you are preparing solid work or class examples of those skills. So, on your resume, having those skills, those exact words on your resume, whether that is in the summary section, whether that is in your job descriptions or in your skills section. Of course, as long as those skills apply. And when you're giving examples in your interviews, talking about those skills. So, if they're asking you, can you tell us about a time when you led a project from start to finish? What did you learn? You're talking about specifically maybe those leadership skills, that project management skill, analysis, those things. You're wanting to use those exact terms, even if you only had it in your classroom. So, project management, maybe that was you leading your group project a little bit more so than your other team members. So, what's really important is being able to acknowledge how am I showing up in the classroom or even showing up in my meetings that I'm having with faculty or staff or my peer students. How am I showing up in a professional way to be able to practice, what it's like to be in a work setting? So, a question that I would ask you all, I'm not able to do a call and response right now, so maybe I'm asking you all, what skills are you learning from this class right now? And then how would you articulate this on your resume? So, if you are in specific classes where you're writing a lot, you're learning professional writing, maybe it's memo writing, maybe it's analysis, data gathering, research, program evaluation. A little bit of a hint is maybe on your syllabus, and you can take a look at the learning objectives or even the name of the class. But I would say even maybe you're figuring out conflict resolution. Maybe you are on a team, a group project where not everyone is seeing eye to eye. Maybe some skills that you're learning is cultural awareness because maybe you recently learned that, the different experiences, the different lived experiences from your peers. How do you articulate this on your resume? So maybe you are adding a projects section in your resume and you're putting down a budget project, a memo, a program evaluation, and then you write down some of those skills. Or maybe you're putting the name of your class in your resume at the top next to your education. Those are some ways you might be able to articulate that. Or you're sharing those examples in your cover letter, particularly in your cover letter and your interview or your supplemental questions. Those are great opportunities to talk about experiences in class. So here's an example of how you might talk about adding those classes to your education section. I would say don't repeat, add the most relevant. And then this is a project section. Maybe you're adding your memo. I would say share the kind of the key findings, some of the key points of those things. But this is a great way if you have more academic heavy experience rather than professional experience. And here's a way to take a look at a course description and grabbing some of those words and adding that to your resume of what you've been learning. Cost benefit analysis, policy analysis, theory. Add those to your skills section in your resume. And here's an example of taking a look at a job description, a job posting, and figuring out what those keywords are to add to your skills section or to your job descriptions. So here I'm seeing collaborating, data analysis, supporting teams or documentation, gathering and organizing and analyzing data. So qualitative and quantitative, problem solving, process improvement, communication, working independently, managing tasks. Add those to your resume, to your skill section in your resume, as long as they apply, or add those particular keywords to the job description if you have that experience with collaborating with team members or data analysis. And then in the future, just wanting to share this once you get into your second year, or whatever year that you're doing your capstone, is that you can add your capstone to your resume. And to do this, you would list it as consultant or graduate consultant, and you can add your employer, you can add your client as your employer. And so for some of you who are looking for internships and needing to fulfill your internship requirement, some notes for those applications that might help you out, particularly in your cover letter or supplemental questions. Name drop the Evans School. Talk about it in your cover letter, talk about it in your interview. The reason why is that folks know the quality of the graduates that come from the school. And a lot of folks tend to have alumni or peer colleagues that went to the school. Talk about how this internship will invest in your career journey. So maybe at some point you want to work in local government as a city manager. Maybe you want to go work in transportation in certain areas. Talk about how this will help you gain that experience. And so you're sharing a little bit of your potential and how they get to invest in you as a student right now. What you're excited to learn, talk about what you're excited to learn and your passion for the work. Anything that separates you and makes and distinguishes you from those that are only using ChatGPT in their applications. Talk like a regular person, sound like a human, show your authenticity. Those things will be important. And a note about AI and ChatGPT use. Um, like I shared before, don't let it do all the work for you. Use it as a thought partner or inspiration. So you can say, like, what are some key things that maybe I should add in a cover letter for this job? And you'll submit the job descriptions. Um, kind of common knowledge, but don't share anything that is confidential or if you signed an NDA into ChatGPT, never just copy and paste. Your voice needs to be identifiable in your writing. So if you wouldn't talk like that, maybe consider editing some of the way that Copilot or whatever AI that you're using ends up using that particular language. Make it sound like you. Some prompt ideas might be input the job posting. What are some key themes? What are some keywords I should include? What are the most prominent skills in this position? So maybe you're writing your former job description, you input that in. What are some key things I should add? How can I format this to highlight my skills? And maybe you are practicing for the interview. So inputting, what questions might I be asked for an interview for this job? chances are they might be using ChatGPT as well, just to write those interview questions. And what kind of examples would be important to talk about? Use it as a thought partner. Think of it as another person brainstorming with you. And finally, but definitely not the least important, is your support system. Think about who's in your corner. Your peers that are with you in this classroom right now, your cohort, those folks are your network already. So think about, you know, supporting each other when you're doing those applications, celebrate the wins, grieve with each other in the losses, and make sure you have people that are encouraging you. So then when those rejections happen, you're able to go back to them and say, okay, remind me, what is it that I'm strong in? How am I not talking about my skills in the right way? Build that support system. We like to call it your personal advisory board. Maybe that's a mentor, a faculty member, a staff member. And really don't be afraid to ask for help if that is a family or a friend or a classmate as well. So, this is when I would be asking for questions, but I really just want to emphasize to you all to check out some of the resources that we have. There's a career development tab on the Evans Community Hub on SharePoint that has a lot of resources that can support you as well. And I encourage you, see all of your time in school as a learning opportunity inside and outside of the classroom. And don't be afraid to brag about yourself a little bit. Don't sell yourself short. And I wish you all the best of luck in your endeavors in finding an internship.